I'm Cliff Hill from Etron. We're sponsoring the Content Theatre today. We're just sat at the back. I'd love to talk to you about our web content management platform as used by some of these wonderful companies. But moving on, so wanted to introduce Keith Hawkins from Clever Voice, who'll be talking about interactive voice mail broadcasting. So thank you.
Lovely, great. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, can everybody hear me okay? Yeah? Can you hear me at the back? Yeah? Can you hear me? Yeah, good, okay. Fine, right, my topic is interactive voicemail broadcasting, and you may not have come across it. My name's Keith Hawkins, and I'm the CEO and founder of Clever Voice. I'm going to try and get through this fairly quickly and take questions at the end. What I'm going to cover is basically talking first about why one should use voice to communicate. It may seem obvious, but some key points. Secondly, talk about some market trends. And thirdly, talk about the new technology, the ability to basically broadcast out voicemails to people's mobile phones and why it's a good idea, and share some of the early learning we've got as a pioneer in the space. So, first of all, why voice? Well, it goes without saying, it's powerful, it's memorable, and it can be highly persuasive. It can cut through in a way that other media can't, in as much as SMS, email, an awful lot of advertising, online advertising and direct marketing simply is getting lost amongst the clutter, and voice can actually stand out, particularly if the brand, the charity, whatever it is, has got some form of personality, a voice that they can use in a way, a voice that can summarize the business. I'm sure we can all think of brands like the Compare the Market Meerkat or the Churchill Dog, or charities who use celebrity ambassadors, seeing as David Beckham or Sir Roger Moore. So voices that can actually be used to get a message across. And I think it's just, it's a very good quote I like from this lady. Words mean more than what is set down on paper. It takes the human voice to infuse them with deeper meaning, to make a message really come alive. And some of the great speeches in history, and I use the example of Churchill, as soon as you look at that, you think, well, it's not a great form of words. But when Churchill said it, and the power of speech during the Second World War, keeping the country going, voice is incredibly powerful. But calling people and actually ringing people up, seems like a great idea, but has anybody had an unwanted call, recently? Yeah? Okay. Are they getting more frequent? Yeah, okay, it's a real hassle. So it's not a great thing to do. So what I want to do is just talk about some trends, this resistance to cold calling that's going on, talk about clutter, and then talk about mobile and then the power of SMS. So in terms of this cold calling and ringing people up, what people really seem to object to, and please feel free to disagree with me, is this device in my pocket, this mobile phone, is very personal to me. This is my personal space. And if somebody rings that, it's actually intruding into my life. And if I get a message from somebody I've never heard of, that actually really can irritate me. People really don't like that. And if it's irrelevant information, something's got no relevance to me at all, if they're trying to sell me a conservatory and I live in a flat, or PPI when it's of no relevance to me, it's incredibly irritating. And it's hard to respond. It's very hard to listen to a message and do anything about it, to opt out often, or to react if you do like the information. And overall, there's a sense of lack of control, a lack of being able to actually stop people actually ringing me and disturbing me when it's inconvenient. So, second thing, and I'll come back to cold calling in a second, clutter. There's this vast amount of information and messages just walking around here. There's messages pouring in. We've got email, we've got SMS, we've got Twitter, we've got all of these advertisements we see on all of the media we look at. And yet we have less time because we're dealing with emails, we're dealing with SMS. We're deluged by messages, and getting the cut-through that you really need is really hard. Really standing out against that clutter is difficult. And I think increasingly, I would argue, emails are often seen as spam with very, very low response rates. It's not my area, but my understanding is response rates are not great. And certainly from a personal point of view, I regard just ploughing through emails and sifting stuff. I very rarely look at emails that aren't immediately clear to me. The last trend I want to talk about is reach and the power of SMS, and I'll bring these three themes together. SMS, it goes without saying, it's massively used. And it can work. The key thing is it works on smartphones and feature phones. And even now, we've still got about 40% of phones out there in the UK, I believe, information seems to be, are still feature phones rather than smartphones. And SMS, of course, works across everything, anywhere in the world, pretty much. It's increasingly being used by businesses and charities. Around about 50% of businesses are using texting in some way. And obviously, we all see charities using the text-to-donate format, which can work incredibly well. You've got high opt-in levels by people with businesses. And you've got immediate viewing, and the research indicates that something like 95% of SMS messages are looked at within the very first few minutes, be it 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And you do get high response levels and conversion from those messages. So SMS can be really, really powerful. So, bringing those themes together, the challenge, and what we've tried to do with the interactive voicemail broadcasting, is to deliver voice messages in a cost-effective way. And what we're doing is respecting people's space, enabling personalization, having relevance, and giving people the ability to act if they're interested, and giving people control. And the way we achieve that is bringing voice and SMS together in a way that people like. So the solution is to put the power into people's hands, combining SMS, the reach of SMS, the power of voice, in a very simple way for people to access messages and also send them out. So what we end up with is interactive voicemail broadcasting. Now, I'll try not to make this too much of a sell, but we are the only people really doing this. And what Clevoice have come up with is a way of getting a voice message out to people's phones so that it appears as a voicemail, but you're not disrupted by a phone call. What you get is a personalized text that says to you, you've got a message to collect if you want. So you pick it up, you look at it and go, I'm actually interested to hear about that. I'd like to listen to that when it's convenient. And the text can actually say what it's about. So you're not just listening to a random message. You go, okay, that's interesting. I want to hear about that message from Keith. I want to hear about that message from David Beckham. I want to hear about it from Prince Charles or whoever it is. And at the end of the message, you can actually respond with one click to actually turn it into a device and make it really easy for people, if they like what they hear, to interact with it. And the responses are being tracked in real time. So as a marketeer, which is my background, you can actually see the response rate. So you can see on an individual basis who's listening to the messages and who's reacting. So that's the basic idea. I think it's, as always, it's easy just to show a demonstration to make it come alive. So it's very hard to do it here, so I'm going to do it basically with slides. Now, does anybody here work with Virgin or have Virgin as a client? Nobody works with Virgin? Okay, good, because I'm going to do a really bad impersonation of Richard Branson in a minute, okay, so apologies. But this is sort of an alert that one might get, so hopefully you can see it. So the key point is, it's personalised. This is sent to Jane. So immediately, in the words of the charities, show me you know me. If you want to talk to me, show me that it's actually for me. This is to Jane, it's to Keith, whoever it is. So personalise the alert. It's being sent by a known sender. In this particular case, it's Richard Branson. I've heard of him. I'm quite interested to hear what he's got to say. And it's branded. It's coming from Virgin. It's a company that Jane's had a relationship with. She's maybe flown with them before. It's convenient listening. All I've got to do is dial that number or click on that number to pick the message up when it's convenient. I'm not being disturbed by a call. One-click access. And it's interactive, and as I'm going to try and show you, with one click, you can actually be put through to the sender if you want to. So it's incredibly interactive. And it's secure. That message will only go to Jane. It can't be forwarded on. So you can track who's had the message and who hasn't. So again, as a concept, this voicemail broadcasting is very, very controlled. So imagine one of those alerts has gone out. So you've had that message through. Jane's clicked on the number. And you get a message through. Hi, it's Richard Branson. I thought you, as a past customer, you'd like to hear about our new flights to Cuba. So the alert message itself is doing a job of actually getting the concept across. Now, Richard is fleshing it out with some detail. Then you can basically say to people, if you want to listen, speak to somebody in the booking team, press 2, and you'll be put straight through. So getting the concept across very clearly. So Jane listens to the message, she hears the message, she presses 2 to be put through, and gets connected straight through to the call centre at Virgin. Very, very simple idea, very effective. And of course, she's picked the message up when it's convenient for her to listen, so it's highly likely it's going to be convenient for her to actually take action and press a button and listen or be put through to somebody. So, what I want to do is try and use the microphone here. And earlier on, I sent myself a message as Richard Branson, and I'm going to try and make this work. So if you just humour me for a second. Let's use my glasses. Make sure I've done the right one. Okay. Okay. Okay, here we go. I think it's going to work. Can you hear that? Oh. This one. Okay, I'm going to do this again. So I'm getting the AV guy saying to use the mic.
Hi, Richard. You're a past customer of Virgin Airlines, so we thought it'd be great for you to know about our new flights to Cuba starting in the new year. Now, if you'd like more information about the flights, then press 4. Or if you want somebody to call you back, then please press 3. If you'd like to speak to somebody at Virgin Airlines, then press 2, and you can talk about availability and flight details and prices. So, I hope you enjoy Cuba, and look forward to you flying again with Virgin Airlines.
To play the message again, press 1. To be connected to the sender, please press 2.
So there's a series of options. What I'm going to do is press 2.
Wait a moment. Thank you for calling Virgin Atlantic Airways. Travel on Virgin Atlantic is governed by our conditions.
So you get the idea. I'm not sure if that really worked. Can you hear me okay now? Yeah? Could you actually hear that? Could you hear that working? Yeah? So it's a very simple idea, simple but clever. And the question is, does it work? Well, what we're finding is we're getting opening rates which vary, depending on what the message is, from single figures through to listening figures of over 40% for the right message going to the right people in a personalised way. So a completely different level compared to email, SMS, and frankly a lot of direct mail. So it's a complete step change. Very high response rate from people who listen. So people actually do get through the message, they know what it's about, and they go, actually, yeah, I'd like to know more about that flight to Cuba. So those people do actually then be put through or ask for more information. And we get very high conversion rates. So people actually, once they're through, are turning into customers. So for instance, we have testimonials on our website with a TV channel on Sky, with customers basically getting conversion rates of 55% of people actually being put through, being turned back into customers. And what we see is almost zero opt-outs, because at the end of those messages you have the ability to opt out, because people like getting messages in this way. It's putting that control in their hands. They're not being hassled. They're picking messages up, or if they're not interested, they just ignore the text message and delete it or just move on. So it's a very, very, going back to those trends, it's a very good way to meeting what people want. They do not want to be hassled. And on the Clever Voice website, we've got some testimonials of how companies and charities are already using this powerfully. Now, this is pretty much the last slide. Lessons learned so far. So in terms of using this technology, hardly surprisingly, the personalization really makes a difference. So that show me you know me is incredibly powerful. It can double or triple the listening rates, hardly surprisingly. If you're responding to a text sent in, do it fast. So for instance, charities, if you've got people texting to donate, having a message that comes back within the next few hours saying, thank you for your donation to whatever the charity is. You've been left a message by David Beckham about how the money is being spent, and then that message can then essentially draw people in and hopefully get people to actually give more money. and then with one click they can be put through. That works much harder if that comes through very quickly. So don't wait 3 or 4 days to respond to somebody who's texted into your charity or company. Move quickly. Keep the voice messages short and sweet. More than about 40 seconds, people start to switch off. It's got to be punchy, they've got to be up. So if it's a personality, they need to record it again and again until they get the right mood and tone to make people want to actually do something at the end of the call, press the button. And we've seen that makes a huge difference, the mood and tone. The most powerful option of this is this ability to be connected through at the end of the message. With one of our clients, again, the testimonials on the website, they had the option of being put straight through or ask for a callback. And the power of this is 75% of people said, put me through to the call centre. And I think that really shows that people are picking the messages up, they're listening to them, and then they're acting. And people really like this technology. We know that people do look at their text, so 80%, 90% are being looked at very, very quickly. But for us, what we're finding is, because people wait and then they pick the message up when it's convenient, the tail of the messages is much longer. So going on, over certainly one day, we get 30% at least of the responses coming in over a day, because people are waiting to the right time to actually pick the message up. And what we find is that it really works well with the personality. I mean, not that surprising. If I say, you got a message from David Beckham or Sir Roger Moore, whoever it is, you're more likely to pick a message up, and that works really, really well. And it can come in the heading, so it can come from, D. Beckham or, whoever it is, can be in the heading. What we also find is just sending it as voicemail. People understand the concept of voicemail. It's just a different way of delivering the service. So that's it. That's the end of it. I want to leave plenty of time for questions. What I'd like to do is to ask you to actually just pass this around and put your business card in, because anybody who puts their card in here, I promise you, I'll send you a demo message to actually make it actually work for you. And also, because points make prizes, I'll also draw a business card out, and you've got a little prize here, so somebody randomly win it. So if I were doing questions, you could pass that round. I'd be very grateful. And if you like the concept, sorry, this is the sales bit. If you want to try Clever Voice, go to the website. You can sign up and just have a free trial. No payment information necessary. You get 100 free messages. You can try it in your organisation, with your friends, whatever. And if you do that, then please send me a message. And that's me, Keith Hawkins, and that's the telephone number. Now, I think I'm running reasonably to time. Yeah.
So, we've got 5 minutes at least. So, are there any questions for Keith?
Any questions? Everybody got the idea? Fantastic. Well, if you want to grab me afterwards, I've got lots of business cards here. If you just pass that back, and just grab me for any sort of questions afterwards. And now I think I've got you pretty much back on time.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Keith.
No problem at all. Thank you.